Alright, good morning. I'm going to read The Kitchen God's Wife on page 140. After Uncle tired of the greenhouse, he became interested in English dog racing, greyhounds, animals he could starve on purpose to make them run faster. And when the dogs died, he bought rifles and shot pigeons, and real pigeons because the clay ones were too expensive. And after that, it was smoking pipes that made him sick. Then English books wrapped in leather that he never read. Then insects stuck on pins. He could have sat in the porch for that one. But the greenhouse was the first hobby, and after he abandoned it, the greenhouse was used only as a strange storage place. When new aunt sat down one day and broke a chair into the greenhouse. When uncle tired of his hobby of shooting rifles or sticking insects into the greenhouse. When old aunt complained that uncle kept too many paintings of unknown ancestors, too many memorial scrolls into the greenhouse. That place was where things went when someone decided they belonged nowhere else. When I was little, I used to sit on the broken chairs. I would touch the rifles, imagining their noises. Imagining their noise, I would have pretend tea with my unknown ancestors. Every year, more things were thrown in there that nobody wanted, and I saw them all. One day, when I was 9 or 10, I found a painting of a pretty woman wearing a plain blue dress, her hair pulled back, looking straight ahead. So somber I almost did not recognize her. Mama, I called, and I truly thought she would look at me. I imagined her climbing out of her picture frame, looking as flat as her painting, asking me, Wei treasure, where is this place with so many tiny windows? And I realized that was the kind of place my mother and I belonged to. Only that kind of place, where things are thrown away. Even when I was older, I still felt that. Anyway, that's where I did my New Year's mending. I was working on my cousin's clothes, the boys who always fell down on purpose, big holes at the knees and elbows, so many stains. I decided most of those clothes were too bad to fix. Maybe I could give them to the servants, not to fix. Maybe I could give them to the servants, not to fix, but for their children to wear. If old aunt scolded me later, I would tell her I was thinking only of my cousins, how they would be destined to roam the streets as beggars if they wore clothes as poor as this. And then I smiled, remembering how I had secretly left a little hole in one of old aunt's jacket pockets. Maybe some of her powers would drain away. Why are you laughing? You thought your mother was always well behaved? You thought I did not know how to be naughty in a secret way? How else did I know you were being naughty? Like that time you hid that dirty book, Catch Her in the Ride. I knew you were not reading the Bible. Alright, let me skip this part. I've read this last night. And I remembered what that fortune teller told her last year, how she was a sheep, always trying to hide behind her thick skin. During the rat year, the fortune teller had said to Peanut, someone could chew through her wool coat and expose her faults if she was not careful. Peanut had asked for money back. She was so mad. The woman refused. Then Peanut raised her voice, letting everyone around her hear. This woman cheated me, gave me bad advice. No luck to be found here. Better stay away. I was embarrassed, but I was also thinking, how does this fortune teller know so much about my cousin? This year, said Peanut, I want to know only about my future husband and his family. And then Peanut began to think about her appearance. how she should look when walking around the marketplace. She twisted her curled hair off to the side. I saw this in a foreign beauty magazine, she explained, and I pinched up my mouth to let her know this was not a good style for her. But as usual, she did not pay attention to me. And then she spent a lot of her worries on which dress to wear, which coat to put on top. As the family favorite, she owned many fine clothes, most of them French or English made, bought in expensive shops in Shanghai. One coat was a black curly lamb with a stiff rolled collar and shawl of padded brocade. When fastened with tiny clasps down the middle, the coat tapered down to her ankles, making it impossible to walk, except in tiny steps. Ridiculous. That was the coat Peanut decided to wear, along with a pair of new high heels. They were sure to be eyesore luxuries to the local villagers. Those people considered themselves lucky if they had one piece of clothes for making a new pair of pants. But this was the new year, a time to show off wealth. We were the richest family in our village. Of course, richest only by the standards of that small part of the islands, the little village called the mouth of the river, only a half-mile long and a quarter-mile wide, not counting the road from the port and the small stores scatters in between. A village that small could produce only one top-class house, maybe a few middle-class people. Almost everyone else who lived there was poor. I'm not saying this was right, to have only one rich family, to have so many poor. That was the kind of life everyone had back then. No questions asked. And the fate people were born with, that was China. Many of those old poor people worked for my family's textile factory, so they didn't starve. They lived in small houses made out of clay, rented from our family. They owned no land, only the dirt that gathered on their floors. But once a year they could look forward to the big party our family gave, the New Year's celebration at the Jiang family house by the mouth of the river. At least that, a big feast 3 days after the New Year. Of course, I did not think about these matters when I was getting ready to go to the marketplace. I was like Peanut, putting on pretty clothes, a festive long skirt with bright red pants, my best padded jacket on top. I wound my braid into a grown-up knot at the back of my head, and then I saw Peanut tiptoeing out into the covered walkway. She listened for sounds coming through the courtyard, heard her mother's voice across the way, still shouting instructions. She came back, opened a drawer, then took out a package wrapped in thin white paper and tied with a red ribbon. From this, she removed 3 round boxes of different sizes. She sat down in front of a mirror, face powder. In a few minutes, she had covered her plump cheeks and small nose with a fine rice white coating. "You look like a foreign ghost," I said quietly, and bit my lips. I was scared for myself. I was 1 year older. I knew Aunt might blame me for not guiding Peanut properly. But if I scolded Peanut, old Aunt would say, "Who are you to criticize? Criticize yourself first." So I said nothing. I watched as Peanut took out another box, this one smaller, with a pearl-colored top. She painted her lips cinnabar red. "Wow, your mother looks like a monkey's bottom. Your mouth looks like a monkey's bottom," I teased, thinking this might discourage her. She twisted open the last box, the smallest, then opened up a foreign beauty magazine, and with a smiling movie star as a guide, she quickly dabbed 2 dark smudges above and below each eye, then drew a thick line on her eyebrows so that they resembled 2 dark cricket legs about to leap. Really, she looked quite frightening, not pretty at all. When she looked down, the dark smudges looked just like a pair of evil eyes staring back at me. Lucky for Peanut, she was able to hide behind the stiff collar of her coat and flee down the dark walkway and out the back door before anyone noticed her new face. I fetched little Gong and little Gao and brought them to the road. And when they saw their older sister, they laughed in whispers, then out loud, until Peanut walked over and slapped both of their heads. They shrieked and ran off, carrying their laughter farther up the road, then turned around to dance and point once again. The walk to the marketplace usually took us 10 minutes, but that day it required nearly 40. Peanut walked with 3 high-heeled steps to each one of mine, and as villagers on the road walked past her, they stopped to stare and bow, then laughed as they went on their way. Oh yo, you should have seen Peanut. She huffed like this, ha ha ha, looking as mad as a queen whose servants had run off with her sedan. If she was blushing under her white powder, I could not tell. Look at my skin, how smooth it still is. When I was young, I wore no makeup. I had no need, no dark spots, no little dots, no scars or marks. Many people told me I had a lucky face, so why would I have to cover this up? Now let's go in the kitchen and make some tea, and then I will tell you how Peanut changed my luck for the new year. Alright, thanks for reading with me.